The morning sun cast long shadows across the marble lobby of Pinnacle Financial Tower in downtown Seattle. Maya Chen adjusted her navy blazer and checked her reflection in the polished elevator doors. After 3 years of relentless work as a junior analyst, today was finally her day, the partnership announcement meeting where she'd learn if her promotion had been approved. "Hold the elevator," a voice called out. Maya pressed the button, and in rushed Victoria Sterling, the firm's operations director. Victoria's designer heels clicked authoritatively against the floor, her platinum blonde hair pulled back, so tightly it seemed to stretch her already severe features. "You're that analyst from the merger team, aren't you?" Victoria asked, her eyes scanning Maya dismissively. "Maya something." "Maya Chen. We've actually met several times, right?" Victoria's tone suggested she'd already forgotten again. "Make sure you have the Silverman reports ready by noon. I need them for my presentation." "Those reports are for the partnership meeting." Mr. Donovan specifically requested. The elevator doors opened on the 40th floor. Victoria stepped out without looking back. "Noon, Maya. Don't make me ask twice." Maya's hands trembled as she clutched her portfolio. She'd spent 6 months on the Silverman analysis. It was the centerpiece of her promotion case. The partnership meeting room buzzed with expensive cologne and quiet confidence. Maya found her seat near the end of the long mahogany table, surrounded by senior partners in their tailored suits. At the head sat James Donovan, the firm's founding partner, his silver hair and wire-rimmed glasses giving him a professorial air. "Before we begin," Donovan announced, "I want to recognize some exceptional work. Maya Chen's analysis of the Silverman merger saved our client $43 million. Maya, would you present your findings?" Maya stood, her heart racing with pride and nervousness. She'd barely clicked to her second slide when the door burst open. Victoria Sterling strode in, her expression stormy. "James, I apologize for the interruption, but we have a situation." Her eyes locked onto Maya with unmistakable hostility. "It seems someone has been sharing confidential client information with unauthorized parties." The room fell silent. Maya felt the blood drain from her face. "What are you talking about?" Donovan asked, his voice sharp. Victoria placed a folder on the table. Security flagged unusual email activity from Maya's account last night. Sensitive Silverman documents were forwarded to an external address. "That's impossible," Maya protested, her voice cracking. "I would never, the logs don't lie." Victoria's smile was thin and satisfied. "Perhaps the pressure of reaching above your station proved too much. James, I recommend immediate termination and a full investigation." Donovan's face was unreadable. "Maya, do you have an explanation?" Maya's mind raced. She'd worked late last night, but she'd only accessed the files from her workstation. "Someone must have used my credentials. I didn't send anything to anyone." "How convenient," Victoria said. "Security, please escort Ms. Chen from the building. We'll be pressing charges for corporate espionage." "Wait," Maya began, but 2 security guards were already at her side. "Clean out your desk," Victoria ordered. "You have 15 minutes." The walk to her cubicle felt like a funeral march. Colleagues she'd worked with for years averted their eyes. Maya's hands shook as she packed her few personal items, a photo of her parents, a coffee mug from her college graduation, a small potted succulent she'd kept alive for 2 years. "I'm sorry, Ms. Chen," one of the security guards said quietly. "But we need to escort you out now." As they led her past Victoria's office, Maya glimpsed the operations director through the glass wall, speaking on her phone, laughing. Their eyes met for a brief moment, and Victoria's expression shifted to something cold and triumphant before she turned away. Outside, the Seattle drizzle matched Maya's mood perfectly. She stood on the sidewalk, her cardboard box growing soggy, and pulled out her phone with trembling fingers. "Mom?" Something terrible happened. 3 days passed in a blur of humiliation and despair. Maya barely left her apartment, ignoring calls from concerned friends. The news had spread through Seattle's tight-knit financial community. No one would hire an analyst accused of corporate espionage. On the 4th morning, her phone rang with an unknown number. She almost didn't answer. "Ms. Chen. This is Detective Sarah Morrison with the Seattle Police Department, Cyber Crimes Division. We need to talk about your case at Pinnacle Financial." Maya's stomach dropped. "Are you arresting me?" "No. But I think you should come down to the station. There's something you need to see." Detective Morrison was a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s with prematurely grey hair. She led Maya to a small conference room where a laptop sat open on the table. "We've been investigating corporate espionage in Seattle's financial district for 8 months, Morrison explained. "When Pinnacle Financial reported your alleged breach, something didn't add up. The external email address that supposedly received the Silverman files. It's a honeypot, a fake account we set up to catch someone inside these firms." Maya's head spun. "I don't understand." Someone at your firm has been selling confidential information to competitor companies for over a year. When we traced the actual IP addresses and digital fingerprints, Morrison turned the laptop toward Maya. Every single breach originated from one workstation. Not yours. The screen showed security logs, network traces, and timestamps. Maya's eyes widened as she recognized the office number. Victoria Sterling, Morrison said. Your operations director has made approximately $2 million selling insider information. When she learned James Donovan was promoting you to partner, giving you access to even more sensitive files, she needed you gone. She used your credentials to send herself the Silverman files, then immediately reported it to make you look guilty. Maya felt dizzy. But why would she risk everything? She already had a great position. Greed? Morrison's expression was grim. And arrogance. She thought she was untouchable. But here's the thing, Ms. Chen, we can't move forward with charges unless we can prove intent and establish a clear timeline. Victoria wiped most of her digital tracks. We need someone on the inside. I was fired. I can't help you. Morrison leaned forward. What if you could get your job back? Maya stared at the detective. How? James Donovan is a lot of things, but is not stupid. When I called him this morning with preliminary findings, he was furious, both at Victoria and at himself for doubting you. He wants to make this right, but he also wants to nail Victoria properly. If she suspects we're onto her, she'll lawyer up and probably escape serious consequences. So what's the plan? Donovan reinstates you tomorrow morning. Says new evidence cleared your name, a technical glitch or something vague. Victoria won't believe it, but she'll have to accept it. Meanwhile, you'll have access to the systems again. We need you to document her accessing restricted files, catch her in the act of communicating with her buyers. Can you do that? Maya thought of Victoria's smug smile, the way she destroyed Maya's reputation without a second thought. Yes. The next morning, Maya walked back into Pinnacle Financial Tower with her head held high, though her heart hammered in her chest. Word of her return spread quickly through the office. Victoria appeared within minutes, her face a mask of barely controlled rage. James must have lost his mind, she hissed, cornering Maya by the elevators. You think this is over? One way or another, you're gone. I'll make sure of it. I'm just here to do my job, Maya said evenly, though fear crept up her spine. Over the next week, Maya played her role perfectly. She worked on new projects, rebuilt relationships with colleagues, and subtly monitored Victoria's activities. Detective Morrison had provided her with specialized software that ran in the background, logging every file Victoria accessed, every email she sent. The breakthrough came on Thursday evening. Maya was working late, genuinely this time, when she noticed Victoria's office light was still on at 9 p.m. Through the glass wall, she could see the operations director hunched over her computer, her face illuminated by the screen's glow. Maya's monitoring software pinged. Victoria had just accessed the confidential files for the upcoming Henderson acquisition, a $100 million deal that hadn't been announced publicly yet. Maya's phone buzzed with a text from Morrison, we see it. Stay calm. Keep watching. Victoria spent the next hour downloading files, her fingers flying across the keyboard. Then she picked up her phone, speaking to someone with animated gestures. Maya's heart raced. This was it. Suddenly, Victoria looked up and met Maya's eyes through the glass. For a long moment, they stared at each other. Then Victoria stood abruptly, grabbed her purse, and headed for the door. She's leaving, Maya texted Morrison. Follow her. But stay back and stay safe. Maya grabbed her coat and hurried after Victoria, keeping a discreet distance. The operations director walked quickly through the rain-slicked streets, constantly checking over her shoulder. She turned into an upscale hotel's lobby, the Cascadia. Maya lingered by the entrance, watching through the glass doors as Victoria approached a well-dressed man in his 60s. They shook hands and moved to a quiet corner of the lobby bar. I'm outside the Cascadia, Maya texted. She's meeting someone. We're 5 minutes away. Get photos if you can, but don't let her see you. Maya entered the lobby cautiously, hiding behind a large marble column. She raised her phone, zooming in with the camera. The man Victoria was meeting had an expensive watch and the confident posture of old money. He was reviewing documents Victoria had laid on the table, documents Maya recognized as the Henderson files. Just as Maya snapped a photo, Victoria's head whipped around. Their eyes met across the lobby. You? Victoria stood so quickly her chair toppled backward. You followed me. She stormed across the lobby, her face contorted with fury. Before Maya could react, Victoria grabbed her arm with surprising strength. You stupid little spy, Victoria snarled. Did you really think you could outsmart me? Let go of me. Maya tried to pull away, but Victoria's grip tightened. You've ruined everything. Victoria dragged Maya toward the hotel's back hallway, away from the curious stares of lobby patrons. Do you have any idea who you're messing with? I have friends in very high places. Friends who don't appreciate witnesses. They struggled through a door marked staff only. Victoria shoved Maya against the wall of a maintenance corridor, her face inches away. Here's what's going to happen, Victoria said, her voice deadly calm now. You're going to lose that phone. You're going to forget everything you saw tonight. And you're going to resign from Pinnacle tomorrow morning, citing personal reasons. Or I will destroy not just your career, but your entire life. Your parents' restaurant. Would be a shame if health inspectors found violations. Your little brother at UW. Accidents happen to students all the time. Maya's fear crystallized into something harder, anger. You can't threaten me like this. I already did. Victoria smiled. And who would believe you anyway? A disgraced analyst with a history of accusations versus a respected operations director. Please. Actually, we'd believe her. Detective Morrison stepped into the hallway, followed by two uniformed officers. Behind them, James Donovan appeared, his face grave. Victoria's expression crumbled from confident to panicked in an instant. She released Maya and stumbled backward. Victoria Sterling, Morrison said, producing handcuffs, you're under arrest for corporate espionage, theft of trade secrets, and now assault and criminal threats. You have the right to remain silent. As Morrison read Victoria her rights, the operations director's eyes found Maya's one last time. Gone was the arrogance, replaced by something that looked almost like disbelief. As if she couldn't comprehend how someone she'd considered so far beneath her had brought about her downfall. 2 months later, Maya sat in the same conference room where her nightmare had begun. But this time, the atmosphere was celebratory. James Donovan stood at the head of the table, a champagne flute in his hand. I've made many decisions in my 40 years in finance, he said, his voice carrying weight. Some brilliant, some regrettable. Doubting Maya Chen, even for a moment, falls firmly in the latter category. Maya, your integrity, courage, and dedication, both to this firm and to justice, exemplify everything a partner at Pinnacle Financial should be. It is my honor to announce your promotion to junior partner, effective immediately. The room erupted in applause. Maya felt tears prick her eyes, but she smiled through them. Later, in Donovan's private office, he poured them both a drink, expensive scotch that tasted like victory and vindication. I owe you an apology, he said quietly. I should have investigated more thoroughly before letting Victoria push you out. I let my trust in her seniority blind me to inconsistencies in her story. You made it right, Maya said. That matters. Does it? Donovan stared into his glass. Victoria Sterling worked here for 12 years. I promoted her. I trusted her. And I never saw who she really was, someone so consumed by greed and ego that she'd destroy innocent people without hesitation. What does that say about my judgment? It says you believe in second chances, Maya replied. And that you're willing to admit when you're wrong. Not everyone with power has that humility. Donovan smiled faintly. You're going to be an excellent partner, Maya. You already understand what some people never learn, that true authority comes not from crushing others beneath you, but from lifting them up. 6 months later, Maya stood before a group of new analysts at Pinnacle Financial's orientation. It had become her favorite responsibility, welcoming fresh talent to the firm. You'll face challenges here, she told them, looking at their eager young faces. Some will test your skills. Others will test your character. And sometimes, you'll encounter people who'll try to make you feel small, who'll use their position to intimidate or belittle you. She paused, remembering that morning in the elevator with Victoria, the feeling of being dismissed as insignificant. When that happens, remember this, your value isn't determined by how others treat you. It's determined by how you carry yourself when challenged, by whether you maintain your integrity when it would be easier to compromise, and by whether you have the courage to stand up not just for yourself, but for what's right. One young woman in the front row raised her hand. Miss Chen, what if standing up means risking everything? Maya smiled. Then you'll discover what you're really made of. And sometimes, you'll find that you're stronger than you ever imagined. As the orientation concluded, Maya walked through the offices that had once felt like a battleground. Now they felt like home. She passed Victoria's old office, now occupied by a genuinely talented manager, who led with respect rather than fear. She nodded to colleagues who'd become friends, people who'd stood by her during the darkest days. In her own office, still modest, but with a view of Elliott Bay, Maya found a handwritten note on her desk. It was from one of the new analysts she'd just addressed. Thank you for sharing your story. My last boss told me I'd never make it in finance, because I didn't have the right background. Your words reminded me why I didn't give up. Starting Monday with renewed confidence. Jennifer Martinez, Maya pinned the note to her bulletin board, next to a newspaper clipping about Victoria Sterling's conviction, and a photo from her promotion celebration. Reminders of the journey, both the darkness and the light. Her phone buzzed with a text from Detective Morrison, lunch next week. Want to hear about a new case? Maya smiled and typed back, absolutely. She'd learned something crucial through her ordeal. The people who wield power carelessly, who build their success on the backs of others they've stepped on, ultimately construct houses of cards. They may seem untouchable, protected by their positions and connections. But truth has a way of surfacing. Justice has a way of finding its mark, and sometimes, the person you underestimate, the one you dismiss as insignificant, turns out to be the architect of your downfall, not through revenge or cruelty, but through something simpler and more powerful. Refusing to be silenced, standing firm in the truth, and having the courage to fight back when everything seems lost. As Maya looked out at the Seattle skyline, the afternoon sun breaking through the clouds, she thought of all the young professionals out there facing their own victorias, people who would try to break them, diminish them, or push them aside. She hoped they would remember, you are not defined by the worst thing someone says about you. You are defined by how you respond when tested. And sometimes, the greatest act of strength is simply refusing to stay down. The intercom buzzed. Ms. Chen. Your 3 o'clock is here. Send them in, Maya said, straightening her shoulders and turning from the window. There was work to do. There were always people who needed an advocate, cases that needed integrity, and battles worth fighting, and Maya Chen was ready.